My name's Jason Hawk. I live in southern Arizona in the upper Sonoran Desert. This has been home for us quite a while.
Jason Hawk, a mountain man distinguishable by his facial tattoo, joined History Channel's Mountain Men for its 5th season in 2016. Living in the wilderness wasn't easy, and he didn't expect it to be, but it was a choice he made years ago. He's a bladesmith by trade and followed a subsistence lifestyle as he raised his family in the Ozarks. He was born in the 1970s in the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas, but was raised in Colorado. He moved to the Big Sky country when he attended the University of Montana to learn metal fabrication and welding. After that, he went back to Colorado and worked as a chef in a restaurant. However, he realized that this kind of life wasn't for him, so he packed his bags and followed his true passion, which was forging blades. Jason belonged to a family of craftsmen and artists and considered his father, Jim, as the biggest influence in his life. His interest in handcrafting developed as he grew up watching his father create things with his hands at his shop. The skills he learned from when he was as young as 6 under the guidance of his dad helped him later on with his trade. His career as a bladesmith started in 1999, and he traveled as far as the rural areas of Japan, learning traditional techniques along the way that helped him create his own style. He wanted to make knives that were functional and had an authentic time-worn look. As he said, "I was born into a world that is forgetting the ways of the past," and adding, "The look, the smell, the texture of everything I create brings me closer to what once was." Jason studied under the neo-tribal metalsmith founder Tai Gu and earned the rank of Master Smith in 2016. He established his own business, Outlaw Forge Works, as he designed, created, and sold precision-forged handcrafted knives and accoutrements. Wood charcoal was used for the forge, as Jason was trying to reduce his carbon footprint, his contribution to saving the environment. His company had a website in which these items were sold, but those interested could only be put on the waiting list, as the items on display were actually sold out. The most expensive knife listed on the site was the medium Hudson at $800, which had an overall length of 12 inches or 30 centimeters, with a 7 1/4 inch or 18 centimeter blade, while the most affordable one was the narrow Frontier belt at $400, which had an overall length of 7 3/4 inches, 20 centimeters, with a 4-inch, 10 centimeter blade. Both had maple handles and rawhide wraps. With Jason's interest in ways and things of the past, it was understandable that he would prefer living in a place that was isolated and mostly untouched by modern technology. He was well prepared for surviving off the land, as he obtained his hunting license when he was 15. Jason also learned Kalai, also known as Arnis, which was the national martial arts of the Philippines. This was not surprising, considering it was generally a weapon-based fighting system that made use of knives, sticks, and other improvised weapons. Jason's lifestyle attracted the interest of the producers, who initially wanted to cast him for the 2nd season of Mountain Men, but decided to include him instead in History Channel's reality series they launched in 2014, entitled No Man's Land. The show was about people and their families living in what would be regarded by most as an inhospitable environment in the US. Jason at that time was residing with his family in a house somewhere in the upper Sonoran Desert of Arizona, with a barren land that didn't allow anything edible to grow, a well pump that stopped working with the power down, and a wild animal that destroyed their desert fridge and their food supply along with it. He needed to think hard and fast on how to provide for his family and keep them safe. Fortunately, his father was there to help Jason despite the searing heat of the desert. Living in the desert posed a different kind of challenge to living in the mountains or remote places in Alaska entailed, but unfortunately it didn't attract that many viewers. As a result, the show was cancelled after 1 season, with only 8 episodes aired. The last one, Live or Die, was shown in April 2014. The American reality TV series Mountain Men from History Channel followed the men and women living off the land in unforgiving terrain and without modern comforts and conveniences. Survival depended on one's skill and ingenuity in making do with what's available, being prepared for the even harsher winter weather. It premiered in May 2012, and millions of people tuned in each week as it became the network's #1 series. At least one individual was added each season, as the viewers got to see what life is like living in the wilderness for a variety of people. Jason Hawk joined the cast in the 5th season of the series that aired in 2016. As he and his family moved back to Arkansas, he said living in the desert where there were limited resources took a toll on him, and so moved to a place where his family had a chance to more than survive, but to thrive. As the land was rich, they could only bring the bare minimum, which included the basic stuff that he needed to establish a bladesmith shop. Without power tools, he knew production would suffer, but he'd figure things out once everything was settled. His father died in 2016, so it was just going to be Jason, his wife Mary, and the young daughter River in their new house. The homestead in the Ozark Mountains of Arkansas was isolated off the electricity grid, and so no central heating or running water. It was tough for a while as they adjusted to a new place and the challenges that came with it. Jason said that life there wasn't just about going back to the basics as they lived off the land, but more about building relationships and making things work together as a family. The Hawks welcomed the new addition to their family as Mary gave birth to another baby girl they named Maddie. The couple made a hogan, a traditional Navajo hut of logs and earth, as a way to honor the baby. Jason took time to take 9-year-old River out on her first hunting trip as a mountain rite of passage. It was important for him to teach his daughter the basic things that a human being needed to know, such as how to clothe, feed, and shelter herself. He also gave her gear and tools that every hunter should have, including a hunting hood for camouflage and a crossbow, then proceeded to teach her how to use it. It was later revealed in the series that he had a 13-year-old son named Kai, who joined them as he wanted to learn bladesmithing from his father. Not much else is known about him, including who his mother is. Jason went in search of raw iron ore in an underground cave to mine and harvest it so he could make his own blend of homemade steel. Mary created a clay furnace for smelting to produce the metal. If they got it right, Jason could save thousands of dollars in his overhead expenses. Considering it was the first time that he tried it, he didn't get the result that he wanted. However, with Kai accompanying his father in getting the ore and assisting him in the smelting process, Jason said that they were creating a new relationship between father and son. The two also forged a knife together for the first time. An accident occurred as Jason was sharpening his knife using a grinder that ended with a fractured hand and broken bones, which meant that he couldn't do what was needed to be done and had to wait for months for his hand to heal. So his wife helped him out. Fortunately, the blade was finished on time, and he was happy with the result, confident that he would get a good price for it. Throughout their appearance in Mountain Men, it was clear that Jason had found a perfect partner in Mary, as she worked just as hard as her husband in carving out a life for their family in the wilderness. When it comes to reality shows, audiences always wonder if what is shown has been scripted or not, while the production usually took liberties in the narration and editing to create drama and make the show more interesting. All the activity was said to be real, but some still accused the show of misrepresenting what it meant to live off the grid. In the case of Jason, having an online presence in the form of a website and an Instagram account for Outlaw Forge Works seemed to belie his status as a mountain man, according to a true off-gridder. Reportedly, he also had a Facebook page, but it wasn't a verified account. However, the irony was lost on the said basher who was able to watch the show and post his criticism online. Back in the 1800s, mountain men referred to trappers who stayed in the mountains and lived off the land, and would later then go down to sell or trade the furs they harvested. Obviously, in modern times, a mountain man makes some use of modern technology from time to time for business purposes. Jason's Instagram account's first post was on the 12th of July 2018 and was a photo of the new logo of his business. Only about 60 posts were on that account, most of them photos of his knives. According to Warm Springs Productions, the creator of the reality show, the mountain men were real. They painstakingly tracked down people living off-grid, wild men or recluses with no criminal record, as they did background checks. They said they were fortunate to find and cast great characters living an interesting lifestyle for the series Mountain Men. The producers also clarified that although the cast received a modest stipend for appearing in the hit series, they also continued to make a living from trapping, bladesmithing, or whatever their source of income was before they started appearing in the show. Mountain Men kicked off its 10th season in June 2021. But Jason was noticeably absent from the show, as was his profile on his History Channel website. According to his wife, their contract with the network wasn't renewed after the 9th season aired. This development couldn't have come at a worse time, as Jason was diagnosed with cancer and would badly need income from the show for his treatment. Perhaps the production didn't renew their contract with the Hawks, so Jason could focus on recovering. It seemed that he had been pushing himself to work, despite the pain that he had been experiencing for a year, before finally consulting a doctor. He was diagnosed with cancer in its advanced stage, but fortunately it hadn't spread. Jason underwent chemotherapy and radiation in the hopes that it would reduce the symptoms and prolong his life. Only then could he continue to provide for his family with his knife business. His family had been through tough times in the past and had relied only on their own efforts, but suddenly found themselves at the mercy of others to help them get through this period. A GoFundMe was set up on the 3rd of January 2021 to raise the finance needed to pay for his medical bills and cover their living expenses while he was undergoing treatment. The goal was to raise $130,000, and so far they've received over $13,500 from more than 100 donors. On the 30th of January 2021, Mary had an update on Jason's condition, that he was on his 4-month cycle of chemo. He was also feeling better and in good spirits as he spent time at his shop thinking about the future of his business. They were grateful to the people who shared their resources with them, as they received care packages and paid off some of their medical bills. With the help of a lot of people, Mary's wish for Jason, who's only in his mid-40s, to see his children grow up might come true. She also shared that what happened to her husband brought the realization of what's truly important in their lives, and they were able to let go of things that no longer brought them happiness. As a mountain man, Jason had an air of mystery around him, and having a facial tattoo added to it. The tattoo was a curved line that seemed to have started just below one temple, then under his eyes as it went over his nasal bridge and ended below his other temple. There were also dots under the line below his eyes. His fans couldn't help but be curious about the story behind them, and if it had something to do with his Native American ancestry. Some reports suggested that the tattoo was meant to cover up his scars, or it was done while he was drunk, and that it was actually shaped like sunglasses. However, he never talked about any of this, and with the tattoo fading, its original design and his reason for getting it would be open to speculations. Other tattoos that were visible included those on his hands and forearms. We wish Jason a very speedy recovery, and a continuation of the obviously happy life that the Hawk family have developed for themselves, wherever that might be. Thank you for spending some time with us. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpick these videos which we recommend you watch next. You can talk to us on all social medias or ask a question in the comments below. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you back tomorrow.